Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Asterisk, an 8-year-old girl walks out of her Toronto apartment and vanishes forever. On the morning of July 30th, 1985, Nicole Morin was supposed to meet a friend in the lobby of her Etobicoke high-rise. For a swim, she never made it. Nicole left her penthouse apartment around 11 a.m., dressed in a swimsuit under her clothes, carrying a towel, a book, and a small bag. But in the short distance between her front door and the lobby, she disappeared, without a trace. Despite one of the most extensive missing person investigations in Canadian history, Nicole has never been found. Nicole's disappearance continues to haunt both investigators and the public decades later. No one saw her leave the apartment. No witnesses came forward with helpful leads. And no physical evidence has ever turned up to explain what happened in those final minutes. The case has remained open for nearly 40 years. A painful mystery that still resonates with anyone who remembers the headlines or has heard her story since. It's a chilling example of how someone can vanish in a moment, even in a seemingly safe, familiar place. This episode dives deep into Nicole Morin's case, retracing the timeline of that day, exploring the key pieces of evidence and police efforts, and examining the theories that have emerged over time, from the plausible to the disturbing. As we revisit this tragic case, we aim not only to understand what went wrong, but to keep Nicole's story alive, in the hope that one day the truth will come to light. Asterisk, in the mid-1980s, Toronto was a growing metropolis, balancing the hustle of a modern city with the quieter pace of its suburban neighborhoods. Etobicoke, where Nicole Morin lived, was one of those suburban areas, a mix of residential towers, family homes, and local businesses. It was a place where families felt safe raising children, where kids rode bikes on quiet streets and walked to school without fear. Crime existed, of course, but the idea of a child vanishing in broad daylight from a residential building was unthinkable. That's part of what makes Nicole's case so unsettling. It happened in a time and place where such things weren't supposed to happen. Nicole lived in a high-rise apartment building at 627 the West Mall, 20-story structure with a penthouse floor. The building was typical of the era, large, concrete, and utilitarian, with long hallways, multiple stairwells, and a lobby with elevators. It had a security system, but nothing as advanced as modern-day surveillance. Residents came and went freely, and neighbors generally knew each other by face, if not by name. The Morins lived in the penthouse, which required access by elevator, making Nicole's disappearance from within the building all the more puzzling. She would have had to walk a short hallway, ride the elevator down, and meet her friend in the lobby. Somewhere in that small, enclosed journey, something went terribly wrong. Nicole's life, by all accounts, was ordinary in the best way. She was a bright, independent girl who loved reading and writing. She attended Briarcrest Junior School and was known as friendly and imaginative. Her parents were separated, and she lived with her mother, Jeanette, who worked as a building superintendent. Her father, Art Morin, lived nearby and remained involved in Nicole's life. That summer morning, Nicole had made plans like any other child enjoying her vacation. She was going swimming with a friend. She called downstairs to say she was on her way, but she never arrived. The mundane details of her day, her swimsuit, her towel, her excitement, make her sudden disappearance all the more heartbreaking. This wasn't a night out gone wrong or a child wandering far from home. Nicole was simply walking from her front door to the elevator in the safety of her own building. And yet, that's where the trail ends. July 30th, 1985. Began like any other summer morning for Nicole Morin. She was enjoying her vacation from school, spending time at home in her family's penthouse apartment in Etobicoke. That morning, her routine was relaxed. She had breakfast, helped with a few small chores, and looked forward to a swim with a friend. Nicole was known for being responsible and punctual, traits that stood out even at the age of 8. Around 10:30 a.m., she spoke with her friend on the building's intercom system, confirming plans to meet in the lobby and head to the pool together. Her friend waited downstairs while Nicole got ready. By 11 a.m., Nicole was dressed in an orange one-piece swimsuit, covered by a green and white shirt with blue shorts and white sandals. She carried a beach bag with a towel, suntan lotion, and a book, items that made it clear she expected a fun, ordinary day at the pool. She left the apartment alone. Her mother, who was working in the building that morning, didn't see her go, but assumed everything was normal. Nicole had made that short trip to the lobby many times before. That brief walk from the penthouse to the main floor should have taken only a couple of minutes, but Nicole never arrived. Her friend waited for some time, assuming she was delayed. Eventually, the friend returned to her own apartment and called Nicole's. When Nicole didn't answer or appear, her mother began to worry. She checked with neighbors, retraced the route to the pool, and asked around the building. Panic slowly began to build. Nicole hadn't gone far, at least. She wasn't supposed to. The elevator, stairwell, and hallways were searched, but no sign of her turned up. By the early afternoon, Nicole's mother contacted police. What had begun as a minor concern had escalated into something far more serious. Officers arrived and quickly treated the case as a possible abduction. Nicole had vanished without a sound, without a struggle, and without anyone seeing her go. No neighbors reported anything unusual. No one recalled hearing screams or noticing a suspicious person. The building, full of tenants, somehow offered no answers. The alarm had officially begun, and with it, a search that would grow into one of the most extensive investigations in Toronto's history. When Nicole didn't show up in the lobby as planned, her friend waited for several minutes before heading back upstairs and contacting Nicole's apartment. At first, there was no reason for panic. Maybe Nicole was delayed, distracted, or had changed her mind. But when repeated calls went unanswered and Nicole didn't appear anywhere in the building, her mother, Nicole Morin, sensed something was wrong. Jeanette had been working as the building's superintendent that morning, doing routine maintenance and speaking with tenants. She assumed her daughter was safely on her way to the pool, but by early afternoon, that assumption turned into deep concern. Jeanette began searching immediately. She checked the hallways, stairwells, and the pool area. She asked neighbors and other children if they had seen Nicole. When no one had, her worry turned to fear. Nicole was not the type to wander off or break a promise, especially not without telling anyone. By early afternoon, the Toronto police were called, and officers arrived on scene. They launched an urgent search, going door to door in the apartment building, speaking with every tenant, checking common areas, parking garages, staircases, and even the roof. The challenge became clear almost immediately. Nicole had disappeared without a trace. No one had seen her leave the apartment, and no one could confirm whether she even made it to the elevator. There were no security cameras in the building, which was common at the time, and no automatic logs of elevator usage. Police brought in dogs to track Nicole's scent. But the trail ended abruptly, either in the hallway or near the elevator, adding to the mystery. As the hours passed with no progress, the search expanded outside the building. Officers checked nearby parks, schools, ravines, and bus routes. Flyers were printed and distributed, and media outlets were notified. But there was no physical evidence to follow, no dropped bag, no footprints, no witnesses who could place her with anyone or even confirm her movements. The case quickly became one of the most puzzling missing child investigations in the city's history, with authorities already facing the daunting realization that Nicole may have vanished in a matter of minutes. Right under everyone's noses, in a place where she should have been safe. From the outset, investigators were confronted with a troubling lack of physical evidence. There were no signs of a struggle, no torn clothing, no scattered belongings, and no noise reported by nearby tenants. It was as if Nicole Morin had simply vanished into thin air. Even more frustrating was the absence of any witnesses. No one saw her in the hallway. No one recalled seeing her enter the elevator. No one remembered anything unusual during that narrow window of time when she was supposed to be heading downstairs. It was an alarming blank space in an otherwise routine morning, and police had almost nothing to build on. One of the biggest limitations was the lack of security footage. In 1985, most residential buildings in Toronto didn't have cameras in hallways or lobbies. In 627, the West Mall was no exception. Investigators had to rely entirely on eyewitness accounts, which were inconsistent and often unreliable. Forensic technology was also limited compared to today's standards. Without a crime scene, there was nothing to test. No fingerprints, no blood, no fibers. Nicole's room and apartment were thoroughly examined, but they offered no clues. She had clearly planned to return after her swim. Her things were in order, and she had told her mother about her plans. Police launched an exhaustive campaign. Over 900 interviews were conducted in the weeks that followed. Neighbors, building staff, delivery people, and visitors were questioned. Asterisk. The disappearance of Nicole Morin sent shockwaves through the community. In a quiet residential neighborhood where families felt secure, the idea that a child could vanish from within her own apartment building was deeply unsettling. Neighbors, who had known Nicole and her family, came together to help, joining search efforts, distributing flyers, and offering whatever information they could. Volunteers combed nearby parks, wooded areas, and alleyways, desperate to find even the smallest clue. The shared sense of fear and urgency was palpable. It could happen to Nicole. It could happen to anyone. The case quickly gained national attention. News outlets across Canada covered Nicole's story extensively. Her photograph, a school portrait with her wide smile and braided hair, became a symbol of the tragedy. Television news segments urged viewers to report anything suspicious, and newspapers kept the story on the front page for days. Police used every available platform to appeal for information, including press conferences, media interviews, and a public service announcement featuring Nicole's father pleading for his daughter's safe return. The community response generated hundreds of tips. Some callers claimed to have seen Nicole in shopping malls, on buses, or walking along highways. Others reported hearing rumors or noticing suspicious behavior from acquaintances. Each lead was taken seriously. Investigators followed up diligently, chasing sightings across Ontario and beyond. At one point, tips came in from as far as the United States, but every report led to a dead end. Nicole was never found, and no witness could place her definitively. After she left her apartment, one of the last notable leads involved a man seen lingering around the building near the time of her disappearance, possibly the same individual from the earlier composite sketch. However, this lead, like so many others, fizzled out due to a lack of corroborating evidence. Over time, as new tips became scarce and the trail grew colder, the case began to fade from headlines. Yet for Nicole's family, the investigators, and the community that searched for her, the mystery never faded. The unanswered question, what happened to Nicole Morin, remained an open wound in the heart of a shaken city, as the search for Nicole Morin stretched into weeks and then months without answers. Investigators and the public began turning to theories and speculation to explain the inexplicable. Most widely accepted theory has always been that Nicole was abducted, but by whom and how remains unknown. One possibility is that she was taken by a stranger, someone who had been watching the building, waiting for an opportunity. This theory suggests a calculated abduction, carried out quickly and quietly, possibly in the hallway or elevator. Given the lack of noise or struggle, some believe the person may have lured Nicole willingly, perhaps posing as a friend of the family or offering something enticing. But no solid suspect ever emerged, and no witnesses reported seeing a stranger near her that day. Another theory centers on the possibility of a familiar abductor, someone Nicole knew or trusted. This could explain why she may have gone without resistance and why there were no signs of a struggle. Investigators considered this angle seriously. Everyone in her life was questioned, including family, friends, neighbors, and acquaintances. Polygraphs were administered to those closest to her, but nothing indicated deception or guilt. Still, the idea lingers: was Nicole taken by someone who lived in the building or visited frequently? Someone who knew her routine and took advantage of her brief moment alone? The runaway theory was considered and quickly ruled out. Nicole was just 8 years old, had no history of behavioral issues, and had shown no signs of wanting to leave home. She left behind all her personal belongings, her toys, clothes, even a birthday invitation she had excitedly spoken about. She had made specific plans for the pool that morning. There was no indication she intended to go anywhere beyond the lobby. The police, family, and even child psychologists agreed Nicole didn't run away.
Ow.
In the years following her disappearance, some speculated about human trafficking. This theory, while difficult to prove or disprove, suggests that Nicole may have been taken and moved quickly out of the city or even the country. In the 1980s, awareness and law enforcement coordination around trafficking were far less developed than today. She had been abducted for that purpose. It's possible she was transported and hidden before any alerts were in place. Still, this remains conjecture, with no evidence linking her to any known trafficking networks. Finally, the possibility of a serial offender has been raised. Some have asked whether Nicole's case could be connected to other child disappearances or assaults in the region. Over the years, investigators reviewed known predators active at the time, including those later convicted for crimes against children. While Nicole Morin's disappearance left a profound and lasting impact on both the community and the broader conversation around child safety in Canada. Though Amber Alerts didn't exist at the time of her disappearance, her case became one of several that highlighted the urgent need for a rapid response system. When children go missing, in the years that followed, growing public pressure and tragic cases like Nicole's played a significant role in shaping child abduction response protocols. By the early 2000s, Canada had adopted the Amber Alert system designed to mobilize the public within minutes of a child being reported missing, something that might have made a critical difference in 1985. Beyond policy changes, Nicole's case deeply affected how parents, schools, and communities approach child safety. Awareness campaigns encouraged families to teach children how to recognize danger, and neighborhoods became more vigilant. Posters with Nicole's face became a symbol of the importance of never assuming a child's environment, no matter how familiar, is completely safe. Her disappearance shifted the way missing child investigations were handled. With greater emphasis on early media involvement and rapid dissemination of photos and descriptions, in recent years, renewed efforts into Nicole Morin's disappearance have brought both hope and fresh questions. Anniversary reenactments and social media campaigns. On the 29th anniversary 2014, Toronto police released a detailed reenactment video of Nicole's last known movements, broadcasting it across media outlets and social platforms like Twitter. #FindNicole and Facebook, hoping to spark new leads. dailyfrontline.ca +15, torontocitynews.ca +15, reddit.com +15. These reenactments have become a recurring strategy, also reappearing in 2007 and at the 30th anniversary in 2015, accompanied by a charity 5K Nicole's Run in Etobicoke that raised funds and awareness. Pleasebringmehome.com +1n.wikipedia.org +1 AJ Progressed Images and Yearly Appeals Authorities have issued agenced portraits at significant intervals. In 2001, mid-20s, again in 2019, early 40s, and a similar sketch was circulated in 2020, maintaining public engagement. TorontoCityNews.ca +2, PleaseBringMeHome.com +2n, Bookipedia.org +2, ongoing police resources and digital file review by 2022 detectives. Worked full-time on the case, supported by several officers. As part of a digital modernization, they revisited leads including excavating areas north of Toronto based on tip data, though no new evidence emerged yet. TorontoCityNews.ca, third-party cadaver dog searches in July 2022. The nonprofit Please Bring Me Home conducted targeted searches of an Etobicoke park using cadaver dogs. Prompted by a witness who recalled seeing Nicole with a man that morning. While dogs indicated a scent, number remains were confirmed. Then the group passed all findings to policereddit.com, +3 cp24.com, +3 toronto.ctvnews.ca +3 modern forensic techniques, DNA genealogy, although neither Toronto Police nor provincial DNA banks have publicly applied genetic genealogy in Nicole's case. The broader Canadian context shows its growing importance. Familial DNA searches have helped solve provincial cold cases, though Canada currently prohibits familial searching in national DNA databases. Reddit.com. Detectives are monitoring advances closely as they may open new investigative avenues. Police statements and community engagement. Detective Stephen Smith 2022 emphasized that all previous and new leads from archives to excavation sites are being systematically examined. Authorities won't give up reddit.com +1 reddit.com +1 toronto.citynews.ca. Detective Madeleine Treader, 2014, reaffirmed that Nicole was abducted and insisted people don't just vanish, urging anyone with information to come forward. Reddit.com +2 toronto.citynews.ca +2 tps.ca +2. While the latest developments haven't brought breakthroughs, they show sustained effort. Modern digital reviews, public awareness campaigns, forensic innovation, and community-driven searches. Each anniversary brings revived interest. The investigators and advocates believing perhaps someone who has stayed silent, knows something vital. If you'd like, I can examine comparisons with other cold cases in Toronto or dig deeper into forensic genealogy's role today. Sources: